Welcome to Talent Pop Podcast, where we will provide tips and strategies for success in sales, networking, marketing, and business. We will be learning from real stories that will inspire you to unlock your potential, discover your talents, and develop the confidence to take action on your biggest dreams. We are focused on empowering women to connect their passions with their purpose to find true fulfillment. It's time to pop off, queens!
Pop off, queens! Hi, it's Amanda O'Connell, your host of Talent Pop, and I am here today with a special guest, Lauren Cuddy. She is a social media strategist and influencer, and I'm so excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Get started.
So excited.
Absolutely. And she's built quite a following on her own social media, including Instagram, which has been amazing to see. And you also have your first professional experience at Puma,
Yes.
growing their global social media brand, which has been awesome. And would love to just hear a little bit about your journey, how you got started with that, and how everything is kind of unfolded from there.
Absolutely. So, hi everyone. My name is Lauren. I'm first of all, so excited to be here. I know we first went into this. You know, you and I have talked a few different times, and I was so excited when you asked me to be on the podcast because I think the podcast world has grown so much, and I think there needs to be more podcasts like this. So I'm just so excited. So thank you, and thank you guys for having me. I'll just sort of talk about my experience working, at Puma after college. Basically, I found Puma. It was a Boston company. I was super excited to sort of get into the world of creative and social media. There was an opening at Puma for social media management. And I was like, okay, gonna get into the sneaker world, gonna try something a little bit different. And I was super excited. So once, I got that job, I basically from, ground up started to run the women's program in terms of the actual at Puma Women handle. So that to me was kind of the coolest experience, honestly, that I've had thus far in my professional career is working really closely with a lot of really great women at Puma, which is so cool.
Do you feel like you were able to going along this whole route of empowered women, were you able to kind of let that shine through the platform? How did you go about that?
Yeah, so what I found to be honestly just so great about, working at Puma and the Puma Women platform was that there were a bunch of initiatives and campaigns that we did that were geared toward, strong women. So we had for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we worked with a company called Barbells for Boobs, where we worked with women who had, gone through breast cancer and either were going through, treatment or had overcome it. And so we, created a line with them, which is the coolest thing ever. And to be a part of that, even just the smallest part of getting to see it and being, talking to some of these women and, just even through, Instagram messaging, just the DMs was just the coolest experience because, obviously getting that glimpse into real women, I think is something that, a lot of people don't have the experience to when it comes to, working in social media. The realness is something that I loved about Puma Women. So that was really cool for me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I guess, did you have, challenges? I mean, growing a brand like that. What were some of the kind of challenges that you were up against?
Sure. Gosh, I mean, when it comes to social media too, I think something that was really cool about, working at Puma was we basically, it was a small team.
Yeah.
So it allowed us to sort of be as creative as we wanted to be and kind of try out new things. And, we weren't scared to make a bunch of mistakes, really. Obviously, you want to be cautious of what you're putting out there, especially as a global brand like Puma. But I think the coolest part was, I was given a ton of creative freedom to really, what can we put out on a Puma Women channel that, will speak to women from a woman and trying to reach those women. So I think, the challenges were really more so the day-to-day kind of just, making sure that we're posting at the right time, more logistic stuff.
Okay. Yep.
And, making sure that, we get the posts together and we get the captions, all the caption stuff, the copy, the little things like that, I think, add up over time. And, that gets a little tricky sometimes to have the full calendar basically laid out for you for the entire month or couple months leading up or, to a big campaign or something. But honestly, the challenges were very minuscule compared to the grand scheme of being able to run this incredible global account. So
That's
you know,
awesome.
I look at, both sides
And
of
I
it.
remember you hearing, like, you know, you were working with it. They're headquartered in Germany, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that
German.
there's definitely challenges there with time zones and
Yeah.
deadlines, I would imagine, and
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So I actually, most of the time that I was actually at Puma, my managers and most people that I worked with, for the most part, were across the ocean. So they were
Yeah.
in Germany, they were in, France. So honestly, that was something that was really great about working at Puma, though, was getting to see that global side of things. I think, working for a U.S. based company, I wouldn't have gotten that experience to meet people
Yeah.
that weren't in the U.S. and getting perspectives and how does someone in Germany run social media and what does their perspective look like, and just, I think that was a really cool thing for me to kind of experience
Yeah.
when I worked there, for sure.
Just like cultural differences and at the end of the day, that human element that kind of ties everyone together.
Absolutely. Yeah, for
that's
sure.
really cool.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about like your personal brand.
Yeah,
Because I know
so-
that a lot of folks are going to be interested in this because the influencer, I guess,
Yeah.
thing
Yep.
has really grown. And
It
I think a lot of
has.
people want to do this. They're inspired. They're
Mhm.
like, how can I, utilize my personal brand, and how can I even monetize off of
Right.
something like this? Yeah.
So I don't know what it is. I get this weird feeling when people, like the word influencer, I think so many times, and I think everyone kind of can relate to this who have been in the world of influencers. Like I always say, like my dad is an influencer. Anyone can be an influencer if you
Yes.
have a following or if you have something important to say, that, and you have influence over a group of people. It doesn't matter how big, how small. You are, by default, an influencer.
Definitely.
So my thing is, how can I use my following on different social platforms to influence others to, either buy things that I enjoy or I
Yep.
purchase, or genuine, like, things that I wear, and
Yes.
my genuine self. How can I market that to other people? I think is something that, most influencers want people to realize. It's like that is who they are.
Yeah.
But it gets kind of, there's a little bit of like a foggy glass between the two because people don't always see like the realness on social.
Right.
So I think that's kind of at least like a challenge when it comes to, the word influencer that I have
Yeah.
with it a little bit.
Because it has to be presented in the right way.
Totally. Or
And
the right way.
You're representing this brand, but yet you want it to be authentic to you. So while you might enjoy the product,
Yeah.
I would think it's hard. I think it's a lot harder than it looks. Like you see these images, it's like, oh, that looks nice. I think I could do that. And then when you go to do it, I mean, you need
Yep.
lighting and you need there's
Yeah.
so many, and even the creative aspect.
For sure.
And I know that that's something that has kind of led you into social media and the digital world.
Totally.
So kind of talk about that a little
Yeah.
bit. Like
So sort of like the creative stuff.
Yeah.
I always sort of say I'm kind of a creative first. So
Yep.
I enjoy being behind the camera as much as I do being in front of it.
Mhm.
So I think, and that kind of goes hand in hand with obviously my previous experience, like working at Puma. I was, behind the scenes as I also was looking forward to, after working for Puma, maybe being in front of the camera or in front of the scenes.
Yes.
But having that experience and sort of that, exposure to both sides has been really eye-opening for me, and also given me sort of that creative, excitement.
Outlet.
I get
Yeah.
an outlet for
Yeah.
sure, and I think getting to see both sides is something that has been a really important thing for me.
Yeah.
And when it comes to just, I guess, the creativity aspect, because I was given so much freedom for the creative when I worked at Puma, it's kind of just invigorated this excitement in me with my own brand.
Yep.
And being able to, try to like harness some of what I learned at Puma,
Yep.
take it into the real world, and, either work with certain brands that, want me to create content for them in really cool creative ways. And I always go back to, okay, what did I do at Puma that worked? What did I, and take some of those like best practices and learnings from Puma, and how can I utilize those in the real world when it
Yeah.
comes to creative?
Now, I guess like that kind of leads me to the next question is what advice would you give to somebody that's looking to grow their brand?
Yeah, that's such a good
Like,
question.
yeah,
Honestly, I need advice too. So that's something I'm like, I think everyone always needs. No one really knows exactly what the
Yeah.
right way to do things are.
Sure.
I also think social's changing so fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at TikTok. TikTok came on the scene like instantly,
Yep.
out of nowhere. It just completely blew up.
Yep.
And, we had to make that shift when I worked at Puma. And I think the world of influencers has had to make that shift too, to maybe some short form content versus the long form content that people enjoyed so much watching on YouTube and getting to relax. So I think, where we're at in terms of the world of social, I think it's really exciting, but like you have to stay up to date with it.
Exactly.
Which is tough.
Very. How do you do that?
So, I mean, there's no right answer. And I think something that I learned more recently actually is to try things out that maybe you wouldn't have, but now you're not as fearful of the outcome,
Yeah,
because
that's good
it's
advice.
such a hard, I mean, you're putting yourself out there, obviously, on social. You have to, understand that it might come with some scrutiny. People are going to have something to say no matter what.
Of course.
But I think for me at least, I've always, obviously, I think we talked about this previously, like being a perfectionist is really hard, especially in the world of social media, where you need to strip back some of those layers of who you are if you want to come across as authentic.
Mm-hmm.
So finding out how you can basically be your real, most authentic self on social, I think takes being uncomfortable first. And that's something I never wanted to accept. Was I always wanted everything to be perfect, and it had to be the right place, the right time, the right image, everything to a T.
Yep.
But I also think this next generation coming up understands the value of authenticity and the value of, it's okay to be yourself. Not everyone's going to like you.
Yeah.
But people would rather see the real you than this facade that you put up on social.
Yeah.
So that has sort of been my mantra recently, is trying to get, a little bit more comfortable with myself on social and pulling back the layers and saying, okay, you might be uncomfortable, but discomfort is going to make you grow. And I think that is probably the best advice I would give anyone right now trying to, either start a brand or, as entrepreneurs or, start social. Just take the risk, because you're going to regret it if you don't, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
And time will pass. So that's sort of my advice. Kind of a long-winded answer to my advice.
No, that's So I was going to ask, do you have any favorite resources that you use to stay updated? Like, I know some folks actually go to TikTok to be updated on TikTok.
Honestly, TikTok, I have learned more on TikTok than I can even explain. I mean, again, not always the most necessary information, but stuff, I guess, as it pertains to the world of, creativity and sort of content. There are so many people on TikTok that are so incredibly talented. It's honestly, all of a sudden, all of these people have come out of the woodwork. And it's just crazy how talented some of these, honestly, a lot of the Generation Z has come. And they've just come out and just killed the world of TikTok, social, creative. I mean, the fact that they're so comfortable.
I know.
It's shocking.
I know.
And I envy that.
It's going to be interesting to see, because even my, 5 and 7-year-olds, how natural they are with it.
Yeah.
And they're just swiping, and they know. My son shows me how, Google tricks and all this stuff. And it's they're just so natural for them.
It's so natural. And I think that too kind of goes back to us talking about, do you sacrifice your visual, the creative work, or the visual perfection that you had in your mind of what something would look like for the authenticity? And I think that's probably a big challenge for a lot of maybe millennials and even older, is just, back in the times of advertising when it was very perfected and very, just a white backdrop with a product, and you knew it was an ad. And now to this world where ads are so integrated in your every single day, in your feed, walking down the street, you see things that you don't even realize are ads, and it's become such a part of, the world we're in, that I think it we've had to make this shift from trying to have things look perfect while also just trying to integrate it into our everyday lives, not being as perfect as we wanted it to be. So I think that's sort of the creative issues I think that I've had in terms of letting go a little bit. Not being so worried about it being perfect.
And it's interesting too, and it makes me think about how we now almost have more control over what we put out there and what we consume also. We're it's kind of flipped the script, in that used to be controlled by the advertising companies and the and now it's given this whole new market for influencers and people that really do love certain brands and want to share that. And I would imagine that's how you came across some of like either skincare or
Sure.
some of the things that you're passionate about.
Yep.
So it's fulfilling for you to be able to share those things, and then interesting for others to see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think too, I started I'm trying to think back to really when, influencers sort of first came on the scenes, or like the influencer. I remember I started watching YouTube in 7th grade. So I've been watching YouTube for a long time, and it in the beginning that was all makeup influencers and just tutorials and what's in my bag and very simple, like genuine, very authentic, easy, just sitting in front of your MacBook,
Yep.
And just recording, and that was the influence that I was brought in terms of like how that sort of came into my life. That was like those were the first influencers for me.
Yeah.
So trying to now see all these like TikTokers and all these people creating all this content that somehow is authentic but so elevated.
Yeah.
That is scary, but also it's so exciting for us because it's like, oh, there's so much opportunity here. Lots of potential. The resources we have are crazy. And I think too, when it comes to working with brands and, getting the opportunities sort of to work with skincare brands and, some clothing brands, I think that's something I'm really excited about, is just like testing the waters. And I think a lot of companies are excited to work with all different types of influencers, like diverse influencers, just like all different types of women especially, and just seeing what they bring to the table, because I think authenticity is like the biggest thing right now, especially in this world.
Yeah.
So I think the brands, at least that I'm willing to work with, or I'm like excited to work with, need to first and foremost be accepting and have a wide range of women that they work with.
Yep.
And one specifically, actually, Aloativa is a skincare company that I'm super excited that like I get to work with them. And it's funny because all of my friends would ask me, Lauren, do you really like this? Like you're posting about this all the time, and like, what is this? I'm like, no, I genuinely received this product basically like a month before I even started talking about it, because I wanted to test it out for myself.
Yeah.
And that's something too, as like as an influencer, being authentic and actually liking the product you're promoting, or you're, that people might buy and you might make commission from that. That is so huge that you really want to make sure that you're being authentic.
Definitely.
And that's why no matter what, when it comes to brands that I work with, it's like I want to make sure I love what they stand for. I, feel comfortable, and I love the product. It really does have to be something I genuinely am really excited about.
Yeah.
Or else people will see that. And
Definitely.
I think people can see through the ads that people create that are not authentic. So I think that's something really important sort of for my journey moving forward. It's just trying to be really authentic and figuring out, all right, maybe turning some of the deals down that, they don't fit who I am, no matter what, the cost is. I think people have to be super real about that is, at the end of the day, influencers make money and that's a job. But it's also, you have to do some soul searching and realize that, what actually do you believe in? What are your morals? And I think that's when you'll get the right and authentic audience that should follow you, because they believe in what you're actually technically selling.
Yeah. I love everything you said. And it makes me think of this word alignment.
Oh, yeah.
And it pertains to, I think, life in general,
For
too.
sure.
And, I know that you recently have made a change in your journey, your professional journey.
Yeah.
And I guess personal, too, because now the lines are kind of blurring these days, where I feel like everyone wants to be aligned and feel good about what they're promoting and what they're doing and companies they're working for. And so I'd love to hear, your next steps in your journey, what that looks like.
Yeah. Great question. No, still on the way. But yeah, so I think, the biggest thing for me was, again, like I've said, a little while ago, talking about like being a little bit uncomfortable, especially when it comes to, the unknown. I think I've always felt like, okay, I went to college, and then you have that perfect job out of college, and you feel like you need to follow all of these steps that are perfect, that fit that box that everyone follows. Like you said, the lines are blurred now. So I think that, to me, that's the most exciting thing. I think there are some people that feel like they need to follow more that routine, like do this, you graduate, then you get the job, then you work there for however many years, the family, like all that stuff. I think, that's a conventional way of things. And this new world that we're in today, you don't have to do that. And especially the way that my brain works, being more creative, I think I'm able to kind of harness that, and it's really exciting that I can kind of choose my own career path.
Yes.
I can, make my own hours a little bit,
Yep.
and just genuinely figure out, again, not everyone has to work like their passion job,
Yep.
but for me, no matter what job I work at, I'm going to give it all of me and my emotions, my feelings, everything. So I've realized that whatever I do, I have to be passionate about it.
Definitely. And you made me think of a couple other things too, like freedom and flexibility, I think are important to people, because I know when I was making career shifts and career changes, those are two things that I really thought about. Like, especially, I knew that I wanted to be a mom, and I knew, but I also had, professional goals. And it's like, I think those are two things that really spoke to me in terms of leading me in my journey. And I've done network marketing. I've done, and I love network marketing.
Sure.
I'm passionate about that type of thing.
Yeah.
But I also love, building and growing a company and having that freedom and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And like you, I love to hustle too.
Yes.
So it's like,
well, you're creative too. Like I remember that. I think that's why you and I connected so well when we first spoke, because we both have that drive in us. It's just like, what can we do? Like, what next?
Definitely.
We're always hungry for something else. And I think that is something that is so great for so many women too. And I think that's such an inspirational thing to look at, is like, we're in the same industry and we're all here working together and collaborating. And I think that collaboration in the world of influencers and creators is so great. And I think that is the next big thing, but I also think it already is. But I think figuring out more ways to collaborate with other brands or other, companies is such a huge part of, staying connected with people too, especially when we're behind our phones 24/7.
Definitely. And I think that provides a lot of hope too, because now that we're seeing, I think of like integration, I think of people and brands coming together and people controlling that narrative more.
Sure.
And that is empowering. I think.
My gosh. Yeah. Totally empowering.
Yeah. And I think it fits really well with Talent Pop and empowering women. And I think it's given women a lot more of that flexibility piece where we can decide, like, we don't have to be chained to like a 9 to 5 anymore.
Yep.
There's this whole concept of gig economy, and choosing your hours and choosing the brands and
is that why you think you started Talent Pop? Like, what made you want to start doing this podcast? Is it because you found? Yeah, I guess I'm curious to know why you wanted to sort of hear other women's perspectives, and is it just women, or what's sort of like your 2 cents?
I love the opportunity to provide a platform where women can share their voice.
Love that, yeah.
I don't know. I think we've gone through a lot, like in terms of watching how far we've come. Just in the professional world, like in staffing, I think like even our company, I feel like is different than the traditional staffing companies. Like having, we have mostly women in our company, and it's just really cool to see that. And just it just ties in really well with everything that kind of we talked about, is just these new changes that are coming, and how everyone is adapting, and how people can come together and collaborate and support each other.
Yeah.
And that's where, Talent Pop and having this platform is wonderful, but then to level that up, the community. And that's what I would love to see grow, because there's so many really creative, empowering, inspiring women out there. They all have stories. They're all different.
Right.
And, even though we have these differences, right, everyone can learn from each other. Everyone can help each other.
Yep.
And that's what I've seen in staffing too. And that's our bread and butter of our business is networking, and helping each other. So, why not create a community that kind of aligns with all of that?
I love that. But yeah, I was just saying, like, how cool is it that you have this platform and this ability to bring women in and hear their stories? And I mean, you and I connected a few months ago, and now I just feel like I'm part of this family, this new family of women too.
Yes.
And I think that is, like you said, community, so important, and just being supportive of one another, but also just listening to everyone's story, because honestly, everyone's story is so different.
Yes.
That's why my journey as, in the world of, creators or influencers that's going to be very different than someone else's journey.
Definitely.
Everyone else's journey is so different.
Yep.
So I think that's something too to remember is sort of, take, what obviously like we say, with a grain of salt, because everyone's experience is so unique.
Yes.
And I think that is why this podcast is so important. And it's sort of something I crave. I wish that there were more like this, truly, just to hear perspectives of different women, and they'll be able to relate to other women more. And, I think everyone will definitely have an interesting take for sure.
Yeah. And I love kind of bridging that talent and skills, because I think everybody has talent.
Yep.
Maybe they haven't tapped into it. Maybe they haven't uncovered it yet. And I think it goes along well with stepping out of your comfort zone, overcoming fear, posting things, trying new things, right? And really stepping out of your comfort zone to uncover those talents.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's not easy to do, but it makes me so sad when somebody says, "Oh, I'm not good at anything." I'm like, that's a lie.
It's a lie. That hurts me too.
Yeah.
And I think, everyone has a talent, whether you know it yet or not, or you don't accept it, or you haven't tried everything. Everyone has something that they exceed in or that they can be good at. And I think it's scary too, because some people just don't want to stray from the norm, or like I said, that box that society has created for us as women. But I think everyone has the ability to change, to do something really interesting, and to change the narrative in their own life and in other people's lives. So I think that's really cool. I think hearing other women on the podcast for others is that's why it's so important, just to hear everyone's perspective.
Exactly. And it's just fun.
Yeah, like we're having fun.
We have to have fun.
Yeah.
When you're in your job and you're in the professional world, why not have fun?
Yeah.
Why can't we have fun?
I know. Yeah.
So
we have to have fun. But it is really sad too, because it's like, I get at the end of the day, the world, you need to make money. And
exactly.
Again, there are these boxes you have to check off, and we're not, immune to, like, we know this.
Yes.
But I do think that it gets to a point where, like you said, you have one life to live. Do what you think is best for you.
Yep.
And some people don't necessarily need to follow that path. Like I said, I'm not following that necessarily that journey of working in that corporate world anymore necessarily for now. But I think that's, again, something really exciting, and I think that's changing the narrative. And hopefully, I think there's a lot of women that are probably going to hopefully watch this and say, oh, maybe I'm ready to maybe start something new. And, if they've worked at a company for a couple of years and kind of taking what they've learned and the people they've met and the experiences that they've had, and taking that either, starting a new company as an entrepreneur, or, maybe making a change. I think that, change is good. And I think change needs to continue to happen. Like, the world is changing. We have to evolve with it.
Yeah.
So I think everyone individually has to kind of, figure out the change in themselves.
Yeah, and change can be scary, and
so scary.
I know, like, this is
so
you've
scary.
recently made changes, and it makes me think back to like when we decided to start a company too, and those fears, and like, but it's kind of going through like those what if scenarios and saying, okay, well, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen?
Worst thing that could happen,
right? And if you have supportive people around you, typically you're not going to be out on the street or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's like. But it's truly kind of facing those fears and saying, what is it that I really want? Is it worse, like, staying where I am and being, unhappy or unfulfilled? And I don't know. Do you have advice for women who might be looking to make those changes right now, or just like maybe feeling stuck? And
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest, I was there, and I think a lot of people have been in that position where they just feel either like they've just settled, or why fix something that isn't broken, or I'm just comfortable. And comfort's a good thing to a point.
Yep.
But like I've said, like, I think I got to a point where I felt that, I wasn't growing necessarily as an individual in my own career. And, it took me some time. It takes me a little bit longer than I think a lot of my other friends and other people I've talked to. It just took me some time to realize that, I think where I was at, I wasn't growing, and I was, at a point where I was ready for change. But I think everyone gets there at a different time.
Definitely.
That's what I always tell people is, you can say, oh, tomorrow I'm going to leave, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But if you yourself are not ready, don't just rip the Band-Aid off right away and do it, because I think you need to make sure mentally you're ready. And everyone, it grows at a different time.
I love that point.
Yeah.
I think, everyone's journey is different.
So different.
And if you spend too much time looking around and seeing, oh, well, she did this and, oh, then I should do that. It's like
the comparison game.
You cannot.
Yeah. It's impossible. Well, and that is too, again, social media.
Yes.
So especially now, or the fact that I work in social media, the comparing game, that's been a thing since forever. I mean, it always has been, even before social media.
Magazines,
right?
Friends,
yeah,
whatever.
Everything.
Yeah.
MySpace.
Yeah.
You were on MySpace.
Oh, yeah.
I got it in like 8th grade. My parents were like, you're on what 8th grade? It's a whole thing. But it goes back to, even the early days of social and everything, just the comparing game. Again, that's not going away. So it's sort of like, how do we change our own mindsets to figure out how to get out of that constant cycle of, telling ourselves maybe that we're not good enough, or we're not the same as that person, or, oh, I can't do what they're doing, or I'm not like them, so there's no way I can, leave my job and start something new, or that's not true. And it's sort of like, it's all about perspective and putting in the work as well, obviously. But I think if you mentally are ready for a change, or if you, have the tools or resources, use them. Yeah. And I think that's why connecting with you has been so great too. Just even having conversations with other women, and just having that support system for me has been probably the most important thing that has gotten me through the last couple of weeks of just kind of, redirecting my focus and figuring out, what do I want to do? What is my direction? I don't have everything figured out. Oh my gosh, I never will. I hope I never will, because then I'll get complacent. I'll get bored.
Exactly.
So, and it's a journey. It's a journey. It's a journey, girls. No, but it's for sure. It's so valid. It's sort of like, you always are going to be hungry for that thing, and you're always going to want to chase. And, the second you get complacent, you're going to want something else. So I think there's always something to look forward to in this industry. And I think when it comes to social and the whole, comparison game, just do you. And it's so easy for me to say that, because I can just say it and not even act on it. But like, that's something I'm really just trying to push out, is just like, try to be as, like I said, authentic, and follow your own journey. To what feels right for you. There's no right or wrong. I always say, so I'm quite a homebody. I'm very close to my family. Like, I would spend every day with my parents if I could. Like, I literally, my dogs, I'm just such a homebody. And there's a lot of people, a lot of my other friends or people that you see, are going out every night and doing all this stuff. And I'm not exactly like that as much. I like a little bit, I guess my comfort is in, hanging out with my family, and I love that. But then that's sort of where I get to take the risk in my career and do something that's exciting. And that's what excites me a little bit more.
Sure.
But I think everyone, like I said, has their own journey, and comparing yourself to someone else, it's never good. You can take some advice from another person, or you can, see the trajectory of their career and see how that kind of fits in with your path. But I think finding your own voice, like you said, finding your own journey is like, that to me is what I'm trying to kind of move forward with.
Yeah. And one other thing I thought of too when you were talking about that concept is just like that fear of judgment.
Oh,
I think that can definitely get in the way. There's so many opinions. It's like, oh, well, don't do this, don't do that. How are you gonna make things work? It's like, you're crazy for starting a business or whatever. And I was thinking back to another conversation I had with another female entrepreneur, and how she was, just concerned about how people would receive like her business and what she was doing and what she was putting out there.
Yeah.
Especially if it's your passion. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's just such a scary thing.
Oh my gosh. And you have to somehow figure out how to block out the negativity.
Yep.
I recently actually watched Selena Gomez's new documentary, and she was talking about in the industry how, she could get, after she put one of her songs out, I believe, she, got thousands, hundreds of thousands of comments, all positive.
Wow.
But it doesn't matter, because that one negative comment is the one that she remembered.
Oh.
And I think that us as a society, especially women, take negativity in a way that it destroys you. And I think that can set you back so much, which is why figuring out a way to have thick skin and realize that, what, that one negative comment should not put you back 100 steps.
Yeah.
it's hard.
I think focusing on what you want.
Yeah.
Staying like laser focused on your goal. Because like, why are you listening to these people's opinions that aren't even, they're not, it's not their
they don't
journey.
know you, not their journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree. But it is definitely scary that, hearing the other voices, and I think putting yourself out there, we are giving ourselves to other people who have the ability and they're allowed to judge.
Yeah.
And so that's something that, again, that's the world that I'm in right now too, especially with social media. And that's a world I've kind of always been in. I put out music in high school and I, sang my whole life. And I remember being terrified just to, market myself because it felt kind of, it felt weird to me because I was like, why am I trying to, show off my voice? And like, I didn't want to come across as, oh, look at my work, look at me.
But you're proud of it at the same time.
Exactly. And it was a passion, still is a passion. But
Definitely.
I think, going in high school especially, that was really challenging because it was, a lot of people were like, oh, well, who does she think she, and I think that those voices have stuck with me. And, that's something to that kind of fuels my fire. You know what? That's okay. Like, I look back on that time too and I say, okay, the fact that I was so confident in myself then and I had the ability to push through the negativity and I was so confident then, I just look back on that person who I was and I like envy who I was then, the fact that I got through this time, that, just being confident enough to put music out that I was going to get judged on no matter what and marketing myself. And, I was at the studio every Saturday all day. So I wasn't going out on the weekends like all my friends. And I was, a little different. I was always driving and, so I think it's something that, like you said, do what is right for you, your own journey, your own career path, but also just like your own life path. That's like, again, we can't keep comparing and we can't keep focusing on the hate, the negativity, and it's so much easier said than done. And I know that. And I know if I got comments later today on a post that were negative, they would hurt because I'm a human.
Absolutely.
We're all human. But I think, again, staying true and like focusing really on who are the people in your life that matter to you and your close-knit crew, or just your supporters, and who are those genuine people in your life. That I think will get you through a lot. And I think, like you said, being laser focused on something in your journey, then no one can hurt you. No one can tear you down if it's your own journey, because they have no idea what you're like, they don't understand. They're not in your shoes.
Exactly.
So I think that's something too to kind of take with, my journey moving forward too, is just to kind of try to block out the negativity on the outside and just try something. I've always been really scared to just turn the camera on and just start recording a video for YouTube, for example. That was always something I've wanted to do. And I'm looking forward to, I keep telling myself, I'm going to just do it. I'm going to just do it. And, I have such a great group of friends who've always been like the biggest supporters. My friends and family are always like, Lauren, like, you love talking about skincare. You research it all the time. You research the science behind it. Like, they always ask me.
You have to share it.
Exactly. And I guess
people want to hear it.
I
Not everyone, but
exactly.
That's
but
okay.
I guess part of me is sort of like, well, why do they care about what I have to say, kind of? And I think that's something that a lot of people, I'm sure, everyone has a different opinion. Everyone's unique.
Yeah.
And so, maybe people, I'm not obviously important to any, to one certain person or to a big group of people, but my opinion is unique, and everyone's opinion and their knowledge is unique. So I think that has kind of helped me shift my mindset to, you know what? Not everyone needs to hear me. Not everyone wants to hear me.
Exactly.
But the people that do are going to hopefully enjoy what I have to say.
They're going to value it. And it's such a good point, because maybe it's just one person that needed to hear your message, what you have to say, what you need to bring to the table. And that just goes, it makes me think about your own unique talents and what you bring to the table, and that it deserves to be heard. So
yeah, everyone's does. Honestly, it's like, it is so crazy how you just think about the worries that we have. Like, how small and minuscule. Like, it's so crazy that worries from the outside world of the unknown, these people that we don't even know, could inhibit us from wanting to do something.
Yeah.
Like, that to me,
that's a crazy thought.
It's a crazy thought. And I think I've always feared failure so much. I remember writing an essay on calling I fear failure, because I really did. But I think, what is that failure? A negative comment?
Yeah. When
And
you peel back the
it's-
layers, like, what is that?
What is that?
Yeah.
And once you realize, okay, what are you actually afraid of? What would that fear, how would that fear impact your life? You realize, oh, it's the fear is just what other people think of me. If that's really the fear, then I'm okay, I think. You know, and I think obviously you want to portray yourself in your own, you know, unique way, and you want everyone to like you. That's just the reality,
Of
right?
course. Yeah.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
But not everyone's going to. And I think that realizing that and recognizing that will help you when it comes to not being scared to fail. And that's okay to fail. And I think I've always, for the longest time, just been really, really scared of that.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest step for me was, you know, leaving my job. And, you know, it's not a failure. I think for me that was like one of the best things I could have done. Because even in the past few weeks, I feel like I've grown so much, just needing to figure out, okay, what is it that I want? It's the first time in my life where I've had the full control of my life.
Yeah.
And taking control of my life. And that to me has become, I think, the most exciting thing in my life. And I'm just something to look forward to also.
Definitely.
And you have the ability to create what you want. And that's just so cool to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything builds upon itself.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, it does.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see where you go and next steps.
Thanks. Yeah, well, obviously we'll be chatting it up a storm still.
Yes,
so
definitely.
It's been so great. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing everything.
Oh my
This has been
gosh,
so
of
fun
course.
and
so great.
passionate and insightful, and I can't wait to share it. So
I know. Thank you so much again for having me. I can't, like, we've just had so much in common too every single time we've talked. It's just been so great that I knew that this was just going to be like a conversation. And
so fun.
It's so fun. So thank you again. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And thank you all. And pop off, queens.
Woohoo!
Love it. You guys
So
know.
good. I could have talked for 7 hours.